Today we're going to be looking at the one-note samba, Samba de uma nota só, which is a great piece to break into jazz guitar playing and Latin playing. Can you imagine anything more descriptive than a piece which says that less is more, and which only uses 2 notes in an entire verse, and it starts with the first note being repeated 30 times. Basically not much is happening in the verse pitch-wise. So the question is, how does he make it sound so cool when there's such a boring melody? Let's take a look at the A section. The reason why this works so well is because the shifting harmonies and the rhythm of the melody, which uses syncopations, create a very interesting effect. As you can see, the melody is very simple and keeps on the same note, but the harmonies keep descending by a semitone and it changes the relationship between the melody note and the chords. Now in the middle 8, we have a lot of notes, we have 2 key changes. We're going fast through the keys using all the notes of each key. My favorite part is the ending. The pedal note or the melody note gets put into the high B flat, and it creates a really interesting chord progression where you get almost a slightly flamenco-esque chord at the very end. For the purposes of the lesson, we're going to be using the key of E major, which is a very good key for you if you're just starting out playing Latin music and jazz and you're not comfortable with bar chords yet and you want a simpler version. The key of E major is great because it uses the open strings, and the pedal note, the melody note, is going to be on the B string and the E string. But if you're looking to learn the most common key, which is B flat, which is most commonly played on the guitar, I'm going to be showing you at the end of the lesson, so feel free to skip ahead. Whenever we have a complicated chord progression, it's always a good idea to start with the bass line. So let's have a look at what's happening in the bass line in the first 8 bars. So we have a descending bass line. Every note moves down by a semitone. And that's the root of the chord. The next thing we're going to look at is the second note here with my second finger. That's the 7th of the chord. And that follows the same movement. Next, let's add the third. Now the third moves with the chord every other change. So the first is a minor third, and then it stays there to make into a major third. Then we move everything together, minor and major. The melody note is the open B, and if we add everything together we get the chord progression. So let's add a basic bossa rhythm to this, which goes like this. And by the way, feel free to use your own rhythms. If you have a bossa rhythm that you like to use, feel free to use or even invent. And sometimes it's just good to improvise. You know, don't feel that you have to play the right bossa rhythm or anything like that. It's just great to improvise. Once you're comfortable with that, what you can do is you can play the melody. And we play the chord once. That will work throughout the first 16 bars, or the A section. next 4 bars, the melody changes to an E, and we get a new set of chords. It's a great change here. And then we go back. Only this time we're going to share these two, and then we've got a final chord. A couple of tips here for you. When you play the right hand, make sure that your fingers are nicely arched. Try not to yank the strings like that. I'm using the flesh of my thumb and not the nail. You get a more bassy, a nicer bass sound, which fits the style. And the left hand, make sure that the clearing of the open string, the B, and you're arching the fingers nicely so you clear the chords. So let's run through the first part, or the first 16 bars. The middle 8 is very different. We have 2 key changes. So let's have a look at the first bars. We're in the key of G major. The actual melody goes like this. And then we're in the key of F major. Going slow, we have D. When you play this section, you can also add some basses. Open A to the D and G. Then we change to the key of F, so you can play the G here. C to F. At the end of the last bar, you can either play these 2 chords, or you can just simply play the notes. Depending how comfortable you are, you can do the melody and the bass. Or you can just play the single note. It's quite nice to also just play the single note. And then the form returns to the A section and is almost exactly the same except for the last line. Going down. Now this time the melody remains on the E. We're going to play the same chords, and we have this really nice chord progression. E major or just an E6. The most common key for this piece is B flat major. It sounds great on the guitar. It sits right in the middle of the register, and the melody note is quite high as well, especially the middle 8 sounds great. I'm going to quickly show you the chords and the way that I play it. So we start with D minor 7, going to C sharp 7, C minor 11th. You can play it here or you can play there. Simply play it up here, and then the last chord in that run is B7 sharp 11. You can do it here. I sometimes play it like this. It's easier to do that run. One thing though is if you play here, you can alternate the bass. It sounds really cool. You might want to choose to play there. You get a little stretch here in the last chord. The second line goes like this. again, if you choose to alternate the bass, you can do this. And then we're back. Ending on the B flat 6 there. The middle 8 is really cool. It's quite tricky though, because we're in the key of D flat major. I play it up here. And I'm adding a few extra chords, or actually one extra chord, just to make it sound a bit nicer. Chords go E flat minor into A flat 7 and D flat major 7 for 2 bars. But here I'm delaying the change there just because it fits better on the neck, and it sounds great too. The same for the next bit. We're in the key of B major, and I'm using the same fingering. Except here where I do the C half diminished into the F. Then the form returns to the A section. It's exactly the same except for the last line. And the last line I play it this way. And it's great as you get this nice pedal on the bass and on the melody too if you do it that way. Slightly harder because you have to do the bar. But it sounds great, it's worth the effort. Otherwise, if you're struggling with that, you can just do a half bar. And yeah, it ends up that way. If you made it this far, then you must be a rock star. Thanks for checking out this lesson, guys. I hope this was helpful to you. And if you want tabs for anything that I played today, everything's up on Patreon. Do check it out if you like. And otherwise, please do subscribe to our channel and strum that like button if you like this lesson.